Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. This is take number 2 because on the first one I just sat here for 15 minutes realizing that I wasn't recording the whole time, so try it again. So like I said, welcome back to the channel. First things first, nothing in the chamber, nothing in the magazine too, so it is clear. As you guys know, this is my short barrel shotgun build from the previous videos. If you want to check out what I did to this shotgun and how I got it to be a short barrel shotgun, check out those previous videos. But in this video I want to talk about the patterning for a home defense situation. So I did take this to the range today and I was able to pattern this shotgun for different home defense loads that I considered carrying, and I have to say I was surprised. I do have video of that, so I'll insert those videos as we go through and talk about each shell. So first up, what is the Aguila, I believe that's how you say it, mini shell. Now the one here is number 4 and a number 1 buck mix. I shot this specific load out of this shotgun about a week ago at 15-16 yards, and I was not impressed. It was very big pattern. Some of those pellets definitely would have been flying over someone's shoulder, and at the same time I wasn't surprised. I mean, this is a 14-inch barrel and this is a mini shell. I mean, it's not designed to be the tightest of patterns. It's enjoyable to shoot, low recoil, but the pattern wasn't great. So I took it out today and I tried it at a more realistic, for my house, 7 yards. So all these loads I shoot at 7 yards because that's the max distance I'll be shooting inside of my house. I did take a couple of them to 20 yards just to see their max and where I'm hitting at 20 yards. Unlikely I would ever shoot these shells at 20 yards and around or inside my house. Just doesn't have the room. So here's the video of the mini shell, number 4 and number 1 buck. Check it out and we'll talk about it. Okay, as you guys can see, the mini shell, not a horrible pattern at 7 yards, but not the best of the day. I do like these because they're low recoil. These would be perfect for teaching someone to shoot shotgun, or having someone younger who's a little bit more recoil sensitive. But just be mindful, it may pattern better out of your shotgun than mine. So these just didn't work in my shotgun like I expect them to, or feel comfortable with them patterning for my house. Okay, so moving on. Now this is where I was surprised, because again this is what Federal calls their shorty shell, and this is number 4 buck. It is not mixed with number 1 like the other mini. This is just straight number 4 buck. Now as you'll see in this video, and just watch the video first and we'll talk about it. Check it out. Okay, you see the pattern. This is 15 pellets of number 4 buck. Very low recoil, fun to shoot, and that pattern is more like it. That's what I was expecting, something a little bit better. The mini shell just was disappointing, but the Federal, it did the job. I would feel very comfortable carrying this in a home defense situation with that tight pattern at 7 yards. More realistic, safer. I didn't see any flyers or anything like that. Shot it a couple times. The one you're seeing is just the first shot. I shot it 2 more times after that just to confirm, and it was the same thing. Very tight pattern. So very pleased with the Federal, and this is something I would consider carrying if I want more capacity in my shotgun. It gives me 8+1, so there's this option as well. Okay, moving on. This is the mini shell. Again, this is the mini. This is their slug. Now I didn't shoot this today because obviously it's not a pattern. It's just one big slug. You can get one big hole. But I do have to say with this, when I did shoot it out of this shotgun here, it did pattern extremely high. Now if I adjust my sight here for the slug, if I lower this for the slug, I am gonna get different results with the other shell. So I didn't want to move the sight for this just this, because I'm not going to be shooting this in a home defense situation. This slug, even though it's a mini, this thing is still moving and it's not going to stop. So it's just something I'm not going to carry. This would be extreme, on the extreme end, but I did shoot this in the past, and low recoil, a lot of fun, just not what I'm going to carry in my shotgun at home. Okay, now we're moving on to the full-sized 2 3/4 double-aught buck federal flight control. Now this is where you'll see the big difference here. Federal knocked it out of the park with these flight controls. This is a very, very nice load. Not only are you getting lower recoil, this is coming in around 1100 feet per second, whereas, you know, your other buck is probably the one that really thumps. So you're coming at 1400 feet per second. They lowered this one a little bit, and this, as you'll see in the video, and I'll show a video of the recoil the best that I can. I mean, obviously you have to shoot it to really know what this recoil feels like, but very manageable. I mean, it wasn't bad at all. I could shoot these all day with no issue. And as far as the pattern goes, check out the video and we'll talk about it after. Okay, as you guys see, that pattern at 7 yards was just one big hole. You know, Hollywood has kind of distorted the idea that you don't need to aim a shotgun, which is completely untrue. You do need to aim a shotgun, as you see, at 7 yards, and you'll see, I'll show a video at 20 yards shooting federal flight control, and the pattern on that is still pretty tight, and you still have to aim that shotgun. So unfortunately, people think that Hollywood translates to real life, and it really doesn't. You do have to aim these shotguns, and you do have to know where these rounds are going, because I mean, as you see, that's just one hole with all those rounds. This is a 9 pellet. Like I said, 1100 feet per second, and here's the 20-yard shot of the federal flight control. Check it out. Okay, as you see, again, just still at 20 yards, you're still getting a really good pattern. And I did 20 yards with this federal flight control because that's the extreme end. I just wanted to see where I was at the extreme end. Doubtful I'll be shooting at 20 yards in a home defense situation, but now I know what the pattern is at that extreme end of 20 yards. Okay, so I did want to compare the federal flight control to a cheaper. I mean, the federal flight control is pretty expensive right now. I think it's running almost $1 a round where I can find it. So I did get some Feder double-aught buck. This is 9 pellet as well. This is pretty cheap, on the cheaper end, but and as far as recoil goes, this thumps a lot more than that Federal. The Federal is very mild, but this one, you know, you feel this one. And so here's the pattern for the cheaper compared to the federal flight control of Feder double-aught buck. Check it out. So as you can see, you do get a bigger pattern there. It's not crazy, but it is nothing compared to that single hole of the federal flight control. So keep that in mind. Different, shells are going to pattern differently, but my personal opinion, try out with your shotgun. Your shotgun may not like it. This one does. This federal flight control is where it's at. I mean, this is something I would, spend the money for. Actually, after I shot these, I went back to my local gun store and picked up a couple more boxes to have on hand because I like them that much. Okay, so how I carry the loads in this shotgun is I'll usually do the first shell would be a number 4 buck, a 21 pellet, and I always go with Rio. I've always liked Rio. They're extremely cheap. They usually pattern pretty good, and the recoil isn't horrible, but it isn't mild. It's kind of in between. So here's the video of my Rio number 4 buck pattern test. And like I said, I did this one because this is the first one I would carry, and then following those would be the federal flight control double-aught buck. So check it out. Okay, so you've seen the number 4 buck, and this is how I carry my shotgun for home defense. On the side saddle here, I have the double-aught buck. I don't carry slugs. I just don't think in my house, with having kids in other rooms, and just, I don't know. I just never wanted to carry slugs in my house. I just don't think it's necessary. With a double-aught buck and the pattern that I'm getting from Federal Flight Control is more than enough, in my opinion, to do the job. But I lead with number 4 buck. Not the best pattern, but not the worst. I know what this is going to hit, though. I know what this is going to pattern at those different yards. And then I follow up with my new favorite round here is the Federal Flight Control. So that's how I'll carry mine. It's 5+1, so the first one, number 4, the rest, double-aught buck. Now, as far as over penetration goes in my situation, I understand that with double-aught buck, you're probably going to get some over penetration there. But I know the situation. I know my house. I know how far my neighbors are. I know where my kids are in their rooms where they stay. And it's something that I've taken into consideration. And I think even with those considerations, that double-aught buck is something I would still go with, even with those that penetration. If you're worried about penetration when it comes to, you know, your house and things like that, you live in an apartment, there's better options out there than a shotgun. Even birdshot probably would be a very good option if you still want to go with the shotgun platform for a home defense situation. I've seen that, you know, birdshot is definitely going to put a hurting on somebody as well, especially in close proximity. Unfortunately, I couldn't shoot birdshot at the range I was at, but so or a pistol caliber carbine is another option too. It's a very popular if you're worried about over penetration in your house. Some hollow points, get that expansion, slow down that round, dump all that energy immediately instead of continuing to pass through, is another really good option. But for me, I've always been a shotgun guy. I love the ARs. I have ARs. I have pistol caliber carbines, and I just always come back to the shotgun. I'm not one of those guys that says, you know, oh, here comes a bad guy. He just heard. He's gonna run. Maybe not. Most likely not. Being in law enforcement, I'll tell you this right now. There are people out there, if they're intent on doing you harm or your family harm, or getting in your house, they're gonna do it, whether they hear that shotgun racked or not. There's some people who are just so intent on doing harm to other people that they don't care about the racking of a shotgun. So it's not something, I just don't want that to be out there where it's like, oh, you know, one of those guys. No, I'm not. I understand that. That's probably not going to scare anyone off. If it does, great. If it does, you know, it probably won't though. And so I've always been a fan of the shotgun. ARs are a great option. I just always come back to the shotgun. I've always been a shotgun guy on patrol. First thing I usually grab was my shotgun rather than my patrol rifle. It's just the way, you know, I guess the way I'm wired. But I hope you enjoyed that video. Oh, I do have to say one thing real quick. I did also take my Mini Master back out and shoot some 22 shot shells through this at different yards just to see the pattern on that. I did order some 22 Magnum shot shells for this to see the difference between 22 and 22 Magnum with the shot shells. I also did some shooting at 7 and 3.5 and 5 yards or something like that. I'll save it for the next video, but I do have some accuracy tests on this, and again, it's from just standing unsupported, but I really like this thing as well. Is this a viable option for a defense gun? I don't know. We'll talk about it in the next video. I like to carry this sometimes when I'm out mowing the lawn and things like that. I just have it in my pocket in a holster, and I'm comfortable with this. I shoot it a lot, so I know where it's going to hit, and yeah, so look out for this video. It should be coming out next. And if there's anything else you want to see me do with this shotgun, any of the loads you want me, maybe we'll test birdshot out of it and see, you know, what the pattern I'm getting out of birdshot from 7 yards with this. So if that's something you guys want to see, leave it in the comments below. Again, I appreciate y'all stopping by and watching these videos. I enjoy making them. I have a lot of fun, and I will catch you all on the next one. God bless.